My name is Ryan. In 2019, my little brother Liam and I were what was left of our family. Our parents and older sister died in a highway pileup the winter before. Liam survived only because he'd stayed home sick that weekend. After the funeral, it was just us, and a settlement check that felt like dirty money. We used it for the only thing we could think to do: keep Liam alive. He was diagnosed with aplastic anemia a few months after everything happened. His bone marrow wasn't making enough blood cells, which meant constant fatigue, infections, and hospital trips that never ended. By spring, his specialist wanted him closer to a larger clinic for monitoring and transfusions. So we moved. Not because we wanted a fresh start. Because we needed a place near the hospital, and we were tired of sleeping in waiting rooms. That's how we ended up with the house. It was listed for a price that didn't make sense, cheaper than some apartments. 2 stories, detached garage, a basement with a separate outside entrance. The realtor said, "It used to be a medical business years ago." She said it like that word should cover everything. I didn't ask what kind of medical business, because I was focused on Liam. He was thin, pale, wearing a mask even before it was normal, and he kept squeezing my sleeve like he was afraid I'd disappear too. The realtor mentioned that nobody wanted it. Too much. Bad energy, she joked. Then she added quickly, "It's been empty a long time. Bank just wants it gone." We signed the papers on June 6th. We moved in on June 9th, a Monday. At 4:12 p.m., I carried the last box inside and noticed the first thing that felt off. The house had that old building smell. Dust, wood, cold air. But underneath it was something sharper. Clean in a chemical way. Like a hospital hallway after someone wipes it down. Liam stepped into the entryway and stopped. He turned his head slowly, like he was listening. Then he said very quietly, "It's too quiet." I laughed, because what else do you do? I said, "That's the point. We're away from everyone." He didn't smile. Milo, our dog, the only living thing that still acted normal around us, walked in, sniffed the air, and immediately backed out onto the porch. He stayed there, sitting, looking into the house like he didn't trust the light. At 6:30 p.m., Liam picked the basement room for himself. It made sense on paper. Cooler air. Less stairs. Close to the outside entrance if we needed to rush to the hospital. But the basement didn't feel like a normal basement. The walls were too smooth. Too sealed. And along one side, half hidden behind shelves, was a heavy metal door with no handle on our side, just a flat panel and a keyhole plate like it once had a lock system. We tried it together. It didn't budge. I asked the realtor about it over text at 6:52 p.m. She replied at 7:08 p.m. "That door was like that when the bank took it. Probably storage. Don't worry about it." We had our first decent meal in weeks at 8:15 p.m. Takeout on the living room floor, boxes all around us. Liam looked better just being out of the hospital's fluorescent light. At 9:40 p.m., he went downstairs to sleep. I stayed up assembling a cheap bookshelf and pretending I wasn't watching the basement door every time the house creaked. At 11:17 p.m., I heard Liam call my name. Not from downstairs. From somewhere inside the walls. It was faint, like a voice through a vent. "Ryan!" I froze with a screw in my fingers. Then Liam texted me from downstairs. "Can you bring water?" I stared at the message, then typed, "Did you just call me?" He replied, "No, I'm in bed." I carried a bottle down to him anyway. He was lying on his side, eyes open, looking past me at the ceiling. I asked him, "Are you okay?" He said, "I thought I heard, like a phone ringing. But not my phone." I told him it was an old house. Pipes. Radiators. Whatever. He nodded like he believed me. But his hand stayed on the blanket, clenched. The next day, June 10th, I tried to make the place normal. I installed new locks. I nailed up curtains. I bought a motion light for the outside basement entrance. Liam had a clinic appointment at 2 p.m., so I left him on the couch with Milo and a blanket. When I came home at 3:46 p.m., Liam was sitting straight up, pale and sweating. Milo was at the basement stairs, growling low. I asked, "What happened?" Liam said, "Someone knocked from the other side of the basement door." I almost laughed. But then I saw his face. Not dramatic. Not excited. Just scared and exhausted. He said, "3 knocks. Slow. Like they were counting." I went down. I stood in front of the metal door. I listened. Silence. I put my ear to it anyway. And I smelled it again, stronger this time. That clean chemical sting. Formalin. I didn't know the word yet, but I knew the smell. I'd walked past it too many times at hospitals. That night, at 1:12 a.m., Liam woke me up. He was standing in my doorway with his mask on, even though he didn't need it at home. He whispered, "Ryan, the light keeps turning on." "What light?" He pointed toward the basement. I followed him down. The basement was dark except for a thin line of light under the metal door. I stared at it, my brain refusing to process what I was seeing. Because there shouldn't have been any light in there. We had no access. No handle. No switch on our side. I reached for the keyhole plate. It was warm. Not room temperature. Not recently touched, warm. Warm like it had heat behind it. I pulled my hand back. And then, from the other side of the door, I heard something that made my stomach drop. A beep. One clean electronic beep. Then another. Slow and steady. Like a monitor. Liam gripped my arm hard enough to hurt. He whispered, "That's the hospital sound." I didn't answer. Because he was right. At 1:17 a.m., I did what I should have done the first time anything felt wrong. I set up my phone on a shelf, recording video with the timestamp visible. I pointed it directly at the metal door. Then I sat on the basement steps with a flashlight and waited. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. I started to feel stupid. Then, at 1:41 a.m., the motion light outside the basement entrance clicked on. A hard white glow through the small window. Something moved across it. Not a shadow from a tree. A shape, tall, close, blocking the light like a person standing right outside the door. I stood up so fast my knee banged the step. I swung the flashlight toward the window and saw nothing. No face. No features. Just the glare. The motion light clicked off again. And at that exact moment, the phone recording captured a sound I didn't hear with my own ears. A quiet voice, right next to the mic, saying, "Liam." Clear as day. I didn't know that until later. In the moment, all I heard was the beeping behind the metal door speeding up, faster, urgent, like something was wrong. Liam started breathing hard, and that terrified me more than anything. Because his illness made panic dangerous. I told him, "Upstairs. Now." We went up, locked the basement door at the top of the stairs, and sat on the kitchen floor until morning, with Milo between us. On June 11th, I called the realtor and demanded the truth. She paused too long. Then she said, "It was affiliated with a funeral home. Years ago. It wasn't illegal. Everything was inspected." That word, funeral home, clicked the smell into place in my head. I asked her why she didn't say it. She said, "People get weird." I didn't want to scare you. I wanted to scream at her that my brother had cancer-adjacent problems and didn't need extra horrors. But screaming wouldn't fix anything. That afternoon, while Liam slept, I searched the house records online. It took less than 10 minutes. The property had been registered decades earlier as a mortuary prep building. A small morgue. There were archived photos too, grainy, black and white. The front porch looked the same. But the basement entrance had a different door. A door with a handle. A keypad. A sign in the frame I could barely read. I zoomed in until the pixels broke. And I made out 2 words. Authorized Only. That night, June 11th, Liam insisted on sleeping upstairs. He said he didn't care if it was hotter or noisier. He didn't want to be near the basement. At 12:33 a.m., I woke up to Milo barking. Not at the door. At the hallway. Milo never barked at nothing. I stepped out of my room and saw Liam standing at the top of the stairs, facing down into the dark. His posture was wrong, too still. Like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. I whispered, "Liam?" He didn't respond. I walked to him slowly, careful not to startle him. Then I saw his right hand. He was holding something. A thin plastic band. White. I knew what it was before I even touched it. A hospital wristband. The kind they put on patients. I took it from his fingers. It was cold, like it had been in a refrigerator. And printed on it, in black letters, was his name. Liam Campbell. A date. And a barcode. I stared at it until my eyes hurt. Because we had left the clinic earlier that day, and he didn't have a wristband on. I asked him, "Where did you get this?" His eyes were open, but he looked through me. He said flatly, like someone repeating instructions, "The door is open now." My mouth went dry. I grabbed his shoulders and turned him toward me. I said his name again, louder. Milo's barking turned into a whine. And then I heard it. From downstairs. A soft metal click. Like a lock releasing. I didn't look down. I didn't go check. Not because I was brave. Because every instinct in my body screamed that if I looked, something would look back. I picked Liam up. He was light in my arms, too light, and carried him to the car in socks and a hoodie. Milo followed, nails clicking on the floor like he was running from fire. We drove to the hospital at 1:06 a.m., not because Liam was crashing medically, but because I needed lights and people and cameras and nurses who would call security if I said, "Someone followed us." At 3:20 a.m., Liam finally fell asleep in a chair in the ER waiting area. I sat beside him and watched the hospital doors like I expected the house to walk in. At 7:45 a.m., when the sun was up and the world looked normal again, I opened my phone and watched the basement recording from the night before. That was when I heard it. At 1:41 a.m., right when the motion light outside clicked on, there was a voice by the microphone. Not muffled. Not distant. Right there. Saying, "Liam." I replayed it until my hands shook. Then I did something I regret. I turned the volume up. Because after the name, there was another sound, quiet under the beeps. Like paper sliding. Like drawers opening. Then a soft, satisfied exhale. Like someone had been waiting a long time for us to move in. We never slept in that house again. We went back at 2:10 p.m. with Liam's nurse friend and 2 guys from the hospital's security team who agreed to just walk through, because they felt sorry for us. Everything upstairs looked normal. The basement stairs smelled stronger than ever. And the metal door was no longer flush to the frame. It was open, just a crack. A thin black line, like the house was breathing through it. One of the security guys reached for it. I grabbed his wrist and said, "Please don't." He looked annoyed, then looked at my face and stopped. Because I wasn't acting like someone chasing ghosts. I was acting like someone protecting his brother. We left. We hired a lawyer to deal with the paperwork. We took the financial hit. We slept in a tiny apartment near the hospital with thin walls and loud neighbors, and I loved every noise, because noise meant life. Liam's treatment stabilized over the next few months. Not magically. Just steadily, with real doctors and real medicine. But sometimes, when I'm half asleep, I remember that wristband, cold, printed with his name, and I wonder how a house got it. I still have the video. I've shown it to exactly 2 people. Both of them reacted the same way. They didn't say, "Fake." They didn't say, "Ghost." They said, "Why does it sound like it's standing right next to the phone?" And here's the part one don't tell anyone unless I have to. A week after we moved out, I got an email from the bank handling the property. A normal automated message with an attached PDF. Except the subject line wasn't normal. It was just 2 words. Authorized only. And when I opened the PDF, it was blank, except for one line of text at the top. Typed like a label. Listing updated, storage room access restored. Under it, where the sender name should have been, there was only this. Line 2.